The Shaolin Temple has strict criteria for selecting lay disciples. They must hold a lit incense stick in their hands and use their fingers to push open the iron door, then insert the incense into the censer. Only lay disciples who pass this test are qualified to enter the training room. After a long period of training, most people here can easily complete the assessment, but Gordon, who sneaked into the Shaolin Temple disguised as a disciple, he could not open the iron door no matter what he tried. Just as he was planning to bluff his way through, a nearby monk pulled him back, returned the incense to his hand, and then forcefully helped him open the iron door. Gordon struggled as the incense burned him, but his hand got stuck in the iron door and he couldn't pull it out. The monk had already realized he was not a lay disciple of Shaolin, but finding him amusing, he still assisted him and pushed him to the entrance of the training room. Next, all he had to do was push open the iron gate in front of him to enter the training room. Seeing the other disciples entering effortlessly, Gordon confidently attempted, but after punching the gate, not only did it not move, but his hands also trembled with pain. He came up with a plan, letting others try while he stepped on someone's foot to slip in himself. The training methods here were diverse, with some using bamboo poles to practice palm strikes, while others used their heads to hit sandbags to train their iron head technique. His attention was instantly drawn to the disciples walking effortlessly on the oiled bronze road, and he couldn't wait to try it himself. However, as soon as he stepped on it, he slipped and fell to the ground, knocking down the disciple in front of him. Two monks grabbed his feet and pushed him back, but they exerted too much force, sending him crashing into a tea barrel behind. In his panic, Gordon got up and performed a dance on the oiled road, entertaining the mocking disciples who gathered around. Just then, the abbot arrived, looking at the embarrassing scene in front of him, and immediately approached to inquire. Upon recognizing the abbot, Gordon immediately wanted to become his disciple, startling everyone into stepping back, who would have thought that the sincere Gordon, kneeling and bowing before the abbot, was just recently a scammer in the streets, pretending to be a monk and extorting money from unsuspecting people. Because of his talent for disguise, his friends asked him to impersonate the abbot to scare a boss who was withholding workers' wages, but the boss remained unfazed and even wanted to fight him. Gordon, knowing no martial arts, was quickly exposed, and all the workers ended up getting beaten up. Furious, Gordon made himself a straw wig and sneaked into the Shaolin Temple disguised as a lay disciple to learn Kung Fu, intending to return and seek justice for the workers once he had mastered it. Impressed by his sincerity, the abbot asked him how he managed to enter the training room. He put on a show. But the abbot immediately saw through his act. He looked at the ink on Gordon's wig, curious. In a panic, Gordon hastily lied, saying he dyed it because his hair was turning white. The abbot agreed to let him join but asked him to clean up first. Upon hearing this, Gordon's eyes lit up. He didn't expect becoming a lay disciple of the Shaolin 36 Chambers to be so simple. He then went to the well to wash his hair, but as soon as the disciples saw him, they took away the bucket. Perplexed, Gordon watched as the abbot threw a large stone into the well, causing water to splash everywhere. It turned out the abbot wanted him to wash his hair this way. In order to become a lay disciple of Shaolin, Gordon obediently followed without questioning the reason. He wrapped the stone around his waist with a hemp rope and threw it into the well, but the splashing water was not enough to clean his head. To complete the task quickly, he had to practice overnight. Eventually, after numerous attempts, he found the trick. Little did he know why the abbot wanted him to wash his hair this way. This was the entry practice for Shaolin disciples, tying a stone to a hemp rope and throwing it into the water, then using their head to catch the splashing water. This was to train disciples' agility so they could react quickly and dodge opponents' moves in combat. After practicing day and night, Gordon finally cleaned all the ink from his wig, revealing the straw's original color, but this brought him new troubles. He forgot that straw was originally brown. Just when he thought he would be kicked out of the Shaolin Temple for lying, he suddenly had a clever idea to disguise his white hair with wall plaster. The next day, he eagerly went to see the abbot, but the abbot immediately saw through his disguise and tried to remove his wig. However, Gordon dodged skillfully, not letting the abbot touch him at all. The abbot realized Gordon had martial arts talent, but lying was still wrong. So, the abbot tried again and ripped off his wig. Gordon quickly knelt down to apologize. Knowing the abbot had discovered his deception, feeling disheartened after his lies were exposed, Gordon was about to leave the Shaolin Temple when the abbot stopped him and asked him to build bamboo scaffolding for the temple's once-in-a-decade renovation. Seeing another chance, Gordon immediately started building the scaffolding. While working, he secretly watched the disciples training in the room below. Although he wasn't qualified to join them, he made equipment on the scaffolding and imitated their movements. Even when his arms were cut from the bamboo, he didn't give up. Watching the disciples practice leg techniques, he tied bamboo poles to his legs and practiced along with them. To practice on the wooden posts, he even made a bamboo post identical to the ones in the room and practiced striking along with the disciples. After a year, Gordon mastered the techniques of the 36th chamber, and the scaffolding was completed. He immediately called the abbot to inspect the results, hoping for approval, but the outcome was beyond his expectations. The abbot questioned him about why it took a year to build the bamboo scaffolding. He explained that he didn't slack off and demonstrated how he did it, admitting that he had secretly watched the disciples practicing. After explaining, Gordon showed the abbot the martial arts he had learned secretly. However, the abbot wasn't surprised. After carefully inspecting the completed bamboo scaffolding, the abbot ordered him to dismantle it all and leave the Shaolin Temple. Gordon had hoped to become a disciple of the abbot after building the scaffolding, but he was ultimately expelled from Shaolin, leaving him furious that Gordon was no longer polite, and this further fueled the abbot's anger. The abbot immediately wanted to punish him, but Gordon was no longer afraid of him. He refused to leave no matter what. Gordon simply lay on the bamboo poles. Seeing this, the abbot used his strength to shatter the bamboo poles. Gordon, relying on his agility, flipped into the training room and acted defiantly. He declared that he would not leave and claimed that he wanted to become a disciple of the 36th chamber and practice martial arts. The abbot couldn't bear it anymore and was about to teach him a lesson in the training room. However, Gordon managed to neutralize all of the abbot's attacks one by one. With a single palm strike, he shattered the bamboo poles used for training, shocking the abbot. The abbot pushed him onto the copper oil road, where Gordon had embarrassed himself before, but now he stood firmly on it. Seeing this, the abbot realized that Gordon had already learned the martial arts of the 36th chamber, though Gordon himself was unaware of it. In fact, the abbot was someone who valued talent. He knew that Gordon learned martial arts to seek justice for the workers, and since there were many restrictions for monks, the abbot intended to help Gordon achieve his goal by sending him away from the temple. Gordon, now calm, also realized that there was no turning back. After bidding farewell to the abbot, Gordon left. He returned to the village in a sorry state, only to find that the workers had been crippled by the unscrupulous boss. When they saw Gordon, they felt a glimmer of hope and gathered around him, urging him to seek justice for them. Gordon, who knew nothing of his own skills, reluctantly told them that he hadn't learned any martial arts. His friends urged him to return to Shaolin Temple to continue his training, but Gordon angrily threw them out and left without looking back. Realizing that Gordon must have martial arts skills, his friends immediately led the villagers to test him. Facing multiple opponents, Gordon used Shaolin techniques, realizing that he had indeed mastered the skills. The next day, he confronted the unscrupulous boss to demand justice. Fearless in the face of the thugs' attacks, he effortlessly defeated them and used his construction skills to bind one of them to a pole. Gordon told the boss, "Pay the workers their overdue wages." Upon hearing this, the boss couldn't resist getting involved personally. He wanted to teach this fake monk who dared to oppose him a lesson. Gordon eagerly accepted the challenge and led the boss to a nearby bamboo shed. As the battle began, the boss attacked first with a stool, but Gordon deftly countered all his moves and leaped onto the bamboo shed. At this point, Gordon had mastered the rhythm of the fight. He wedged the stool the boss was holding into a gap in the bamboo shed and casually sat on it, warning that if the boss didn't stop, he wouldn't show mercy. Enraged by Gordon's words, the boss continued to attack, but Gordon kept urging him to stop. After several rounds of intense fighting, Gordon saw that the boss was unrelenting. Without hesitation, he punched the boss, sending him flying, then tied him up and suspended him from a rack. Faced with the sharp bamboo knives on the ground, the boss had no choice but to surrender. Once he promised to return the withheld wages, Gordon let him go. Thus, Gordon, who was originally just a street swindler, became a true master of Shaolin Kung Fu through his persistent efforts.